G'day guys, how's it going? So we're now at a good point where we can start talking about file and folder structure in Rust and how we can take all this code that we've been writing in modules and put it into separate files and folders. Okay, so we've got A, which had a child submodule of B and C, and they had submodules and so on and so forth, and then we're calling all of these things down here. All right, cool. So let's talk about the conventions of Rust and how it works at the moment. So the first place Rust will look for module code, say for mod A, is if it has parentheses, right? Which is what we've been doing up to this point. It'll look for any content in here first, and then it'll go, okay, is there anything there? Yes or no? Cool. I'm going to get the information from there, right? If it doesn't find it, and there is no curly brace, and essentially this mod is just kind of spelled out like that, it's now going to look for specific files in your file system, right? So if I was going to specify just as mod A with a semicolon, I'm just going to revert that for a second. The first place it's going to look for is it's going to find a Rust file with the same name as the module in the same directory as where you're calling it, right? So we've got it in the current main root of the source code where main is. So the first place it's going to look is for a.rs, right? So if I come in and I put a.rs here, like so, and then I take the contents of this module, all of the contents, so all the way down to the end parentheses. If I now cut that out and then paste that into a.rs, all right, it still won't work, and it won't work because what we need to do is remove that body. And if I now put a semicolon here to indicate, hey, look, I want to refer to this module, but I have no body, so look for it in the file that's nearby, right? If I do this, bang, you see the code will still compile. All right, if I run it, everything still works. And it still works because it goes, I see you've got a mod A here. You haven't got a body, so go and look for a file right next to this one called a.rs. So the name is important here. It has to be the same name as the module. So if I was to say rename this to, I don't know, we'll just make it B for the moment and go, okay. Now main is going to complain and say, I don't know what any of this is, right? So it's like, oh, well, actually, it tried to change it to B. Let's set it back to A. And it's going to go, I don't know what mod A is. Please tell me what mod A is. All right. So it doesn't know where it is. So it goes, cool. We got to set this back to A. And once we do that, then everything should be happy. Again, I'm not sure what's going on here. It replaced all the A's at the front here. This is just the IDE doing it. Wasn't expecting that. Whoops, not capital A, lowercase a. All right, cool. And that one is also an A. Cool. So just be mindful of when I rename this, the IDE is picking up, oh, you need to change this, right? But just keep in mind, yeah. So module A needs an a.rs, right? Now inside of module A, if we want to refer to, say, module B in another file, right, we can't just put in the same directory here b.rs, right? So if I take everything that's in module B, all of this content, if I now go and paste it in b.rs and save, and then I get rid of this and I make this a semicolon, this is actually not going to work, because what ends up happening is now that any other code that we want to refer to outside of this code file needs to be located inside of a folder called A, right? So now I need to come in and go, okay, for any submodules, that's going to be in an A directory, all right? Now, if I move the b.rs into there, and hopefully it doesn't rename anything, right? Now it's going to be good again, right? Just ignore the fact that that's not being used. We'll just delete it. So now it's happy again. We can rerun the program and everything will run smoothly. Cool. So main refers to A directly using mod A. So it looks for A in an adjacent file. Then once we're inside that adjacent file, if we refer to any other modules, they have to be inside the directory that's given the same name as this file. And then the name of the file in that directory has to be the name of the module here. Cool. So let's do it for module C. I'm going to come in and create a c.rs in here. And I'm basically going to grab the contents of the C module, cut that out, save, come over to C, paste it in, save that, and then make this another import like so. If I do that, now everything works again. Let's just quickly run it. And Bob's your uncle, right? Everything still works. Cool. So now we're starting to get a bit of a folder structure, right? So basically anything that's pertaining to the A path stays in the a.rs file. Anything that's beyond it, like A::B, goes in the B file that's in the A folder. And then in this case, this has a D. So we can take this another step further and say, okay, let's define a B folder, right? A B folder, which has a file called d.rs, right? And inside of that will be the contents of this module, which is this one function here. So cut that out, paste that in here, save, and then come back to B and make this public. All right. And now that should still compile just fine, right? So run it again. And there we go. And then lastly for C, because that also has mod E in there, let's go and create a C folder inside of the A folder. So C, and then we're going to have a file called e.rs, and then basically the contents of e.rs will be whatever's in this module. So paste that in, save, and then update C. And hopefully by that point, if we run this again, everything still works. But now we've got ourselves a bit of a folder structure, right? So there's our main, there's our a.rs, which indicates the upper module that is associated to main. And then inside of there, we've got, inside of a.rs, we're referring to module B and C, i.e. that's why we need a B and C.rs inside of the A folder. They in turn refer to a D, for B, so there's a d.rs inside of B, and for C, there's an E, so inside the C folder is e.rs, right? So that's kind of how everything works. Now, the last thing that I like to do generally is put my module inserts at the top of every file, just because I like it that way. Not D, sorry. B.rs needs the module at the top. You don't have to do this. I mean, the way I had it was fine, but I just like to see my modules at the top. And I'll do the same for these two here. Cool. So that is the current way of breaking up modules into files and folders, right? Now, there is an older way, so I'll just quickly demonstrate that because it's a little bit different. So let's go back to what we had right at the very beginning, and we'll start over. So I'm just going to revert everything back to what it was. So all the content is back in here again, and I'm going to delete the A folder and the a.rs folder file for a second, right? Now, just in case you might bump into an old Rust project, I want to show you the other way that we used to refer to files. And then I'll kind of explain why we don't do it that way anymore. So we had mod A, right? So instead of this time having an a.rs next to main, right, we would just have an A folder, right? And inside of the A folder, we would have what was called our mod file. So it'd be mod.rs, right? So inside this mod.rs would be the contents of mod A, right? So we'll take all of that code again, and we placed it into this mod.rs file. I then remove, like we did before, that body. And once again, when we run this, you'll see it still compiles. All right. Now we break it down further. I think you kind of get the drift of what I'm about to do. So we've got a B and C mod. So in here, we're now going to create a B folder, and we're also going to create a C folder. And inside of these, we're going to create a mod.rs. And in the B, we're going to also have a mod.rs. Right? And now inside of the A mod.rs, we're going to grab the contents of the B module, and we're going to paste it right inside of here. All right. And for the C stuff, we're going to take the contents of that and we're going to paste it into C's mod.rs. All right. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to do what we were doing before, remove the block and add semicolons, and everything still works, right? We can still run main, and everything still works. And then lastly, we knew that we had some D modules, so create a folder for D. That D needs a mod.rs in it. And essentially, you would add in your code there. So, sorry, we grab the contents of mod D, right? Put that inside here, paste it, and then basically we would come back to B and we would refer to it the same as we did before. And obviously in the end, the same for C. So we come in and we'd say, okay, I need an E folder. So you create E, and then you would create a mod.rs in there, right? And then basically the contents of E would go into there. And then obviously you would just go public mod E, right? Now, I think you probably can see the problem with this approach, right? So if I run it, let's just make sure it works, and everything compiles the same way, right? But it's pretty clear that this is not the best approach. Why? Because you have 150 bloody files with the same name, and they're like that because of the fact that they're within different folders, right? So every time you want to add code in a separate file, you had to create a module that was the name that you wanted it to be, and then you would refer to it in the higher module as, public mod name of folder, right? Public mod name of folder. Or you could just use mod name of folder if you didn't want to expose it to the outside world. But in my case, I am, right? So this is pretty ugly, right? And that is why we go with the previous approach that we just saw, which was, we start with a.rs out here, and then A would contain files inside of here, right? Now, if you're wondering, can I do both at the same time? The answer is no, you cannot. So if I come in here and decide, all right, I'm going to keep the A folder and I'm going to slowly migrate my stuff over, right? So I'm going to create an a.rs, and I'm going to take, say, in here, one function out. Let's just pretend there was dependencies on that function for a moment. If I try to paste it into here, well, main is going to complain. All right, it's going to complain saying, oh, by the way, now you've messed up A, because now I'm seeing both a.rs and an A folder with mod.rs. Right, so it's like, which one do you want me to use, right? You've confused me. So you can't do that, right? You can't do the same. What you can do, though, yes, I want to undo that create. Actually, no, I'll grab that first. Put that back in here where it belongs and delete that file. What you could do, though, and I believe this works, is instead of having a B folder like that with a mod.rs in it, you could go, all right, I'm going to rename this to b.rs. I'm going to bring this outside of the B folder and put it into the A folder. All right. I'm then going to grab this mod.rs file that's in the D folder. I'm going to rename it to D, and I'm going to put it in the B folder. All right. And I'll get to in a minute what I'm doing here. Just delete that. So will this still work? The answer is yes. So you can have basically one where you've got the C and then the mod approach. And then you can have another module that you depend on with a file here, and then it follows that dependency flow. And in fact, I believe, no, you can't. If you have a b.rs here, you can't have a mod.rs in here. So hopefully that makes sense. So basically what I'm trying to say is the approach you should take, because it's the modern way of doing it, is this approach where you have the module name next to whatever is using it, right? And then basically you put any dependency it has in a folder, and then you would call it the name of the module. Sorry if that's confusing. Maybe just watch it a couple of times. Basically, just do it the current way and not the old way. But I just wanted to show you the old way, just in case you run into some code that uses the old folder mod rs approach. And that's what we're going to end the video here, guys. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.